WP-Get Web Dev Tutorials for all user levels. Okay, so today this tutorial is based on a question from the global Elementor community. Derek Yip asked the question about this website here, in particular to do with these dotted or dashed steps here, linking off to this page, and here's an example of what they're wanting to do. So obviously a step, a dashed line, and some icons underneath it. So I just want to have a bit of a look at this and see how we can do this with minimal extra CSS or custom CSS in Elementor. Have a little bit of a play with this, and we'll work out some things as we go. I think the left-hand side one's very simple to do because of the settings in Elementor. When you have it on the right, there's a little bit of extra custom CSS that you have to do because of the way Elementor works. So one thing to mention here is I'm using Elementor's FlexBox containers, which is an alpha experiment at the moment. The reason I'm doing that is it's a lot more flexible in how you can do this kind of thing. You can still do it with columns and widgets and all that sort of stuff, but I don't have to redo these tutorials, and I think this will become a standard pretty soon in Elementor, so I'm going to base it on the new Flex containers. And again, if you wanted to apply this to columns and widgets within columns, you can certainly do it. You just have to apply the same thinking. So the first thing we're going to do is create a section to encompass this whole top block here. So do a single section, and we want that to be a column section, I think. And inside that section, so we'll call that the main. Okay, and then I want to add a row for these two here. So for the step and this text here, so I'm going to grab a Unfortunately, you can't drag and drop. If I create a new section using this, it just will not let you drag and drop it inside. I'll show you what I mean. If I create a row here, there's my container. If I try and put that inside, it just won't do it. It's just something in the UI that's just not working well enough to do that. And hopefully they'll fix that up. So anyway, so what we have to do is add a container to that. Now I'm going to set the gap to 0 on this, and I'm going to duplicate that. So we've got two containers within this container here. Actually, let me have a look here. Yes, we have. So under main, we've got two containers. I want to make that this container here, I want to be the top section, so this section here, and the next one I'm going to make these icons. So I'm going to call that top section, or top row probably is more relevant, and I'll call this top icons. Okay, now inside this row, on the top row, I want to have two columns. So I'm going to grab another container, drag that inside there. So that's inside there. I'm going to call that the step one container. And the cool thing with these containers is each container you add is a single DOM element, so go for your life and keep adding these as far as you need to. So inside the step one container, I'm going to add, my top row, I'm going to duplicate that, and I'm going to make that my step one copy. Oh, this editor is just driving me mad. Okay, there we go. So we got step one copy, step one container inside the top row. Now for the top row, we want to make that a row. So we want these to be next to each other. And with the step one container, I'm just going to make that the full width internals, and we'll make this a, 200 pixels. So that one's 200 pixels. The other one's going to automatically fit with that. Okay, so that's given us our layout for the top. Now I'm going to just grab a heading widget and stick it up the top there. I'm going to add a text editor. I'm going to stick it in there as well. So this is all in our copy. Now, because in this section here, see we've got that short, the easiest way for me to do that is to grab this section, and I'm going to set that to a percentage, set it to a maximum percentage of this. What's going on here? Sorry, I've done the content width. So the content width is full width, and then the width we want to be smaller. Sorry, that should be on full width, otherwise it just changes the inner content. So let's say that's what we want, maybe a little bit bigger than that. And now we need to add our step. So this step 1. So I'm going to grab another container. I'm going to put that inside there. I'm going to make my background my primary color. Set my border radius to, actually want that full length to 50%. I've got a 50% border radius. Now with this, we can't set the height exactly as we want it. So this is where we do have to use a little bit of custom CSS. So what I'm going to do is make it reusable. So I'll just do it on this particular one, but use a class so we can put that class on the site settings CSS and reuse it later if we want to. So what I'm going to do is under advanced, I'm going to call this a rounded step. And I'm going to put all the CSS on rounded step that I don't have settings for. So custom CSS, I'm just going to stick it in here for now. And we're going to make that width of 200 pixels and a height of 200 pixels. Okay, and we haven't got a big enough border now. So let's go back to our border. %. Okay, so now we've got a round container effectively. So it's a single section, and I'm going to call that the step 1. Okay, inside step 1, we're now going to add a heading widget. So you can see as we drag these, they go inside the whatever the top level container is. I'm going to use the small step. Oops. And small, just drop the size down a little bit, and I'll put a line break. Step 1. What's going on with my typing today? So step 1, there we go. We'll give it some style. We'll use a text color of white. Now, what I want to do is make this a center in that side of that container. So we go to the parent container, which is the step 1 container, and this is where we go into our item settings and find what works for us. So if we set the space between, or space around, or space evenly, it's not going to work. Let's change it to a column. Maybe a row. No, it's not working. Why is it not working? Have a look at that. Style. Step. Sorry. The step container is there. Step there. So the step container, let's have a look. Items. Line to the center. There you go. I was on the wrong one. And then align items to the middle. So now we've got our step 1. Similar sort of thing to what they have on that page. All right, so for our next container, we've got to put another container underneath here, but let's get our copy in here first. So what we want to do is add another container to our bottom row here. We want to make that a row. Okay, so now we've got a container for the icons. Sorry, we want to make the icons a row. Let's put that on there. I'll just undo that. So that container there would be, maybe we'll call that icon. So here's your top icon, and then we're going in there. We're going to set the container content width to 100%, but we want the content to be, say, 25%. So there it is there. Let's do 3 of those. Another one. Okay. Now you get some weird spacing with these if you don't set the gap to 0, the element gap. It puts an extra 20 pixels spacing in between these. So let's just do that for now. And now we've got 3 of those. Let's go to the top icons container and set the, where are we? Items. We want to stick these at the end. Where's the end? There. Flex end. So we're going to put all these containers at the end, so there's just empty space at the beginning there. I'm going to use that for the space here. Actually, while we're there, I'm just going to add some padding at the top and bottom to make it more realistic. So if we had, say, 50 at the top, 50 at the bottom, it just gives us a little bit of spacing. All right, now, a simple icon widget. So an icon, where are we? Box widget. Duplicate that. Duplicate it again. Okay, now we've got our start. We might want to put some padding or spacing in here. Let's just grow there, maybe make it 30 pixels in there, make it look a bit better. All right, so now we need to get our line. So this dotted line that goes from there across. What we're going to do is we're going to get an extra container and stick it inside there. But it needs to be just outside of it. So I'm just going to show you what I mean. So if I grab a container, stick it there. So it's in the, I'm going to call this the dash. Okay, so it's in the step container, but it's not inside the step circle. So it's just outside of there. So it's in that container. I'm going to call that dash. And what I'm going to do is set the style border to dashed. Where are we? Dashed. Uncheck the grouping of these, and we want the bottom to be 2 pixels and the left to be 2 pixels. Let's just make it the same primary color as well. All right. Now to make this work properly, let's go, actually we won't make it the primary color because I want to show you what happens with the ordering. So let's go back to the border. I'm going to make that say the text color. There we go. Then we go to our advanced tab. We want to set the positioning of this container to absolute, which sticks it at the top right. We then want to set the vertical offset to say 50%, that'll do. That sticks the container somewhere down there. Now we've got vertical alignment for this container here. We can take that off and set that to the top if we want to. Did that work? No? Okay. So there's some quirky things that we need to figure out as we go, but let's not worry about that. Let's go back to the dash and just say we want that to be 50% from the top and 50% from the left. Percent. 50%. So this UI is just not updating as I type. So there it is there. Now we want to actually move that further down. So all we're going to have to do is grab the dash container and the layout and set them in height. Okay, so there we go. We've got a line that extends down there. Now there's a quirk which I'm going to talk about shortly, which we need to fix. So immediately the problem we see here is the dot is on top of the step. Simple. We go to the step one here. and we set the z-index of that to something above where that line is. Where is our z-index? So if we just go up, now this step is on top of the line. All right, so there is a little quirk I'm just going to show you here. So if I go back to my dash and I make it a, say, pixels, and make it super wide, it doesn't change the width. Now, I found the reason for that, and I'm going to show you the resolution. So in here, we've now got our dotted line going to there. The reason that for this is if I look at the CSS for the e-container column, it's got a calculation for the width. If we look at the here, the width uses this var width. So a lot, this was working previously. It's a problem. We got it on boxed. We go full width, and then we set the max width in pixels. Still not working for me. So that's just going to 200 pixels and won't go beyond. So for some reason, the editor is not. So width is 818 pixels there. And max width, where's our max width? Max width, min width, mid width, max width. We untick that. That works. So on the container, e-container, that's what we are here. That's this one here. So it does work there. So we've got a max width of unset on this container. There we go. So we're going to have to create another class. Maybe we'll call this wide dash. Wide. And when we've done these, we'll take them out and we'll stick them into the site settings CSS so we can actually use them across the entire site. So in my layout, I'm going to add CSS class of that, and now I can change the width. So this is the kind of little thing that you got to find as you go with the quirks. So I'll make that 220. Now we can actually go beyond the 200 pixels. So by default with Elementor, it sets the maximum width of anything within a container to 100% of that container. So that's something, I'm not sure why they do that, but that's obviously what they've done. So if I update this now, refresh this page, and there it is there. So pretty much what we were looking at here, this kind of layout, obviously different styles, different content, but that's pretty much what we're looking at there. Now, what happens when we go into smaller views? See, this is staying the same width. So what you could do instead is you could look at, okay, let's have that, instead of being so many pixels, let's make it say 20 VW. It's too big, so make it 16 VW. Maybe 14 VW. Update that, so that's the view width. Refresh. There you go. So it's going to be too wide there, and it shrinks a bit when you get to here. So you got a bit of play around a little bit, and then we get to our mobile, and we see some more problems here. So what we want to do is make sure that on mobile, this all centers. We want to get rid of that bottom border. So let's have a look at that. Go back to here. Let's go to our mobile responsive. mobile responsive view. So in this view, we want the container, the step container. We want the steps to be centered. So we're going to center the items for the steps. The dash, we want to get rid of the border on the bottom. So let's uncheck that. We just want the, I think it was the left border of 2. And we want it to be shorter. So let's have a look at our max height and change that there. We also want to look at maybe this heading, and we might center that heading. Look at the text, and on mobile we will center. Refresh. There we go. Now we've still got something that's too wide. What is too wide? There we go. I just then refreshed. Or is that it is still too wide? So we've got this dash. It doesn't need to be too wide. So let's just make it. It's only 2 pixel border. So let's make it 2 pixels wide. That 12. Here we go. So we're kind of getting close here. Still got some work to do as the screen width increases. We might have to do some custom CSS to deal with that. So that's pretty much the first part of it. Now where it gets tricky. So let's go back to this there, and we're going to, maybe we'll just put some on this whole thing, add some padding top and bottom so we can see the difference between the two. 50 to the top, 50 to the bottom. And I'm going to duplicate this whole section. And what I want to do this time is I want to move all this to the left. So grab this here and set our item alignment to undo that, and then I'll move everything to the left. We then want to reorganize these. So we want to put, what do I do there? That didn't work for me. So here's my step container. Should be inside the top row. This drag and drop with these containers still needs a little bit of work, I think. There we go. So now it's the side. So let's grab the whole row items and let's stick that on the right hand side. Oops, that's just the wrong one. The top row and the items, and let's align that to the right. Where's our right? Line that all to the right. Okay, so now with the opposite side. So with this here, we want to now put the border on the right and not on the bottom. So let's go to that and go to the border and take the border off the left and put it on the right. Okay, now here's where it becomes a problem with the Elementor settings. So this here is from the left. There is no setting to put it from the right, so the vertical is okay. So what we're just going to do is take the horizontal off on there, and we have to do this with custom CSS. So I'm going to say in here, I'm going to put on this white dash, I'll just put it on this selector, and we'll put that as a right 50%. There we go. So we say right 50%, it's going to be 50% from the right. So we want to move that in 50% from the right of this container. And that's pretty much done the same thing there. Save that. Okay, so there's our right-hand side one. And if we go, we get down to there, and it does the same thing. So it looks the top and the bottom one look the same now. So that's lining them up that way. Now, I would at this point here, so I'd probably maybe go call this a wide dash right. Let's go into typing. Wide dash right. Oh, it's too late in the day. So wide dash right, I would go like this. And I would maybe go wide dash left, left, and call that left. Okay, so this would be my preferred way of doing it. Now, on here, I would then actually add a class, which is wide dash right. I'd take that class, and I would stick that on my layout here, and that fixes that problem there. So, going back to the custom CSS, I'll grab all of this, and cut that from there. Go to my site settings CSS. Where are we? Custom CSS. I've got a lot of stuff in here, so I'm just going to comment at the top. Call this dash. Stick those there. Okay, now this is working again. Now I would then go back to my top dash here, and I would change that to left. Whoops, wide dash left. Okay, and then get rid of the custom CSS there. So now it's just any of these you want, you just chuck them on there and then add that class to it. Now the step settings will do the same. So we've got some advanced CSS for the steps. Where are we? Step 1. So a rounded step, I'm just going to cut that out of there. And paste that into my site settings. Okay, and just copy this class name. Come to this one. Container, there's the step, get rid of the CSS off here, and put that on the layout. It's already got on the layout, round step. Okay, so that way there we don't need custom CSS on every one of these. So if I now view this page, it looks the same. If I come back here and I want to do a completely new set, I go in here and I create a row, get another container and stick it in here, and I make that a Says classes of rounded step. There it is there. Put my background color on it. Make this one that color. That didn't work. Why didn't it work? Let's have a look at it. Go color, rounded step. I haven't got the border on it. There we go. So I use the border radius as a Elementor setting. So we want to add this to the step. We can just go back into here. Add that to the rounded step. And then all we need to do, if we want a rounded step, we just add the rounded step class to that container. So this is really, I want to demonstrate this because this is a really cool thing about these containers, is that in effect they're just a div. And that div has all of this really cool stuff that's in the Elementor UI. And the stuff that's not in the UI, you just apply custom CS like you would with any other div, and it only adds one DOM element. So it's not adding a wrapper, a container, a widget wrapper, all that sort of rubbish. It just adds the single element. So don't be afraid to mark up your page using multiple containers to get what you need. Anyway, so that is pretty much that. So hopefully that is something that makes sense and is useful to you.